Hello there and welcome, or welcome back if you've been here before. I'm Beatrice, and this class is an essential Yin Yoga class, or Yin Yoga for beginners as well, where we're exploring the essential Yin Yoga postures. So because this is specifically for beginners, I'll keep the postures a little bit shorter in terms of the amount of time we're holding them for. And if you have never practiced Yin Yoga before, you might want to know that in Yin Yoga we practice postures for a longer amount of time to target deeper tissues, fascia, all the way down to the joints and in between all the connective tissues, but also to target different meridians according to traditional Chinese medicine. And these two things need a little bit more time than a regular Yang practice to take effect. It's also great to slow down the mind and to draw yourself within and notice how you're feeling overall, not just in the body, but also in the mind. Because this is for beginners, you might not have a bolster or many props around you, but if you can, have at least a couple of blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use 2 thick books or a couple of books stacked one over the other. So let's come to a comfortable seat to begin with. Doesn't have to be cross-legged. You're welcome to sit up on props as well. And take your hands wherever they're comfortable. Let your shoulders be soft. And you can either close off the eyes if that makes you feel safe. Otherwise, bring your attention down towards the ground so the gaze falls down and softens. And we'll just take a moment here to arrive to the mat. Just allow yourself to notice your breath. And simply notice how it feels today. You don't have to modify it in any way. Allow your attention to fall onto the movement of the breath in the body. So that feeling of expansion as we breathe in and of drawing back to center as we breathe out. And as you're ready, you can float your eyes open, maybe to see what I'm doing, or you can keep them closed if you know the postures already. And I invite you to bring your soles of the feet together to come to our first posture, which is butterfly. So in Yin Yoga, also postures have different names. So for butterfly, take your feet together, and differently from a Yang practice, sit a little bit farther away from your feet. So you can also sit a little bit closer depending on what we're targeting. But for today, let's sit a little farther away. And if you have your 2 blocks and your knees kind of need a bit of support, you can take the blocks under your knees. Not necessarily at this height, you can bring them to the second height and underneath as well. Just make yourself as comfortable as possible to let go of all the muscles around the joints. And in this posture, we're targeting mainly the hips, but sometimes we can feel it in the inner thigh, perhaps the outer side of our thighs as well. So come to notice where you feel the posture and allow yourself to come forward towards your feet. Doesn't matter if you don't come all the way down. Just let your head drop wherever you get. And allow the shoulders and arms to soften. And we'll be here for 3 minutes. And perhaps coming forward to fold, you feel those sensations in the low back.
You can take your hands either side of your feet and draw yourself to a straight spine. So bring yourself slowly up, back into seated, out of your fold.
And as you come up, you can take what we call the rebound posture, or you can stay still. You don't feel like you have to move. But sometimes it's nice to bring your knees up, feet flat to the ground, and move into windshield wiper motion. So knees go side to side. It's also nice to reverse what we've just done. So what we've done is a flexion of the spine. So if you'd like to, you can open up the chest instead, or maybe even lift the hips off the ground for a moment. And come back down. From here, we're moving to another flexion or fold, which is caterpillar. So for this one, take your legs in front of you, but rather than having the knees straight, see if you can start with your feet flat to the ground and your knees bent. And take your abdomen on your thighs, relaxing the head, maybe in between the knees, if that feels good. Really relaxing the head down, relaxing the back of your body, which is what we're targeting, especially the back, so the low back. If this feels like it's not doing anything, there's no sensations, then you can begin to straighten the legs slowly. You can even bring blocks under the knees to keep that soft bend and to come to the space of sensations. And we'll be here for 3 minutes as well. Find your option and let your head soften again. So if you are bringing the knees to a straighter version, then you don't have to have the tummy on the thighs, but try to soften as much as you can anyway. And try not to reach for anything. So in Yin Yoga, we try not to push or pull. It's all about how it feels and functional targeting of the posture rather than aesthetics. And begin to roll up through the spine, slowly coming out of this posture. And now we've been in folds for quite a while, moving through what I consider the basic extension in Yin Yoga, which is Sphinx. So we're coming around to the front of our body. You can take the blocks at the top. I usually like to use one to support my head. So take yourself up to hands and knees, then extend your legs back and bring yourself down with control to the ground gently. Try not to just drop yourself down. Then lift yourself up onto your forearms. If there's any back discomfort here, I usually suggest to bring the arms a little further away from the body so that you lower further down, the extension is not as big. So come to your version of Sphinx. You can have your elbows in line with the shoulders, or you can have the arms further away from you. And we'll be here 3 minutes as well. If you'd like to, you can take a block under your forehead. I usually use it at this height because this is the height that works for me. This is how far I am away from the ground, but you can take it at any height, lower, or you can take 2 blocks together. And as you come to Sphinx, the target here is the low back mainly. So notice how that area feels. Begin to allow your attention to fall on sensations during a Yin Yoga practice. And allow the area around the hips and farther down to soften as much as you can. Try not to squeeze the glutes. Now if you have a block under your head, start to remove that to place it to one side. And take yourself down to the front of your body. Now from here, bring yourself up to hands and knees. And then draw your hips back towards your heels. You can have your knees together or your knees out wide. Here as well, if your hips don't touch the heels, you can prop yourself up, maybe take a block in between, maybe a block under the forehead. And you can reach your arms forward, or you can have your arms either side of your body, even stacking the forearms on top of each other and resting the forehead, which is something I really like to do. So adjust the posture for how it feels good in your body. We'll be here for a minute or so. And in this posture, it's always nice to come back to the breath and feeling that rising and falling sensation of the belly on the thighs. And take your hands either side of your head to take yourself up to hands and knees and around to your back. Coming down to your back, bring your knees into your chest. Just a little bit of movement here with your knees forward and backwards if that feels good. And then extending the legs down to the ground, or a nice, very nice option, it's constructive rest. So the knees in this is Shavasana, classic Shavasana, legs straight, but if your back feels a bit uncomfortable, bend your knees, bring the feet flat to the ground, a bit wider than your hips and your knees together. So providing that space for your low back to soften the hips, but also that support for the knees, for the legs. And you can take your hands on your tummy or out wide if it feels good. Just anywhere the shoulders feel comfortable. And allow your body to soften to the ground. And by the way, if Shavasana on your back doesn't work, you can always take a side lying Shavasana or even lying on your front. Just take a moment to notice, however you're lying in your Shavasana, all the areas of contact of your body with the ground. And if you'd like to stay a little bit longer in your Shavasana, perhaps come back to the breath. Notice that inflow and outflow of the breath and how it feels and where you feel it and the rhythm. But I'll leave you here. I hope you enjoyed this class, and if it was your first Yin Yoga class, I hope it was a good introduction. Thanks so much for joining me today. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe and share with your friends and family. Thank you very much.